The Kansas Turnpike is about to change. The move to cashless tolling isn't quite complete. Today, 12 News reporter Brock Wilson talked with a KTA engineer about the changing landscape.
Soon, all the toll plazas along the Kansas Turnpike, like this one here at Webb Road, will be demolished. It's all part of the Kansas Turnpike Authority's transition to cashless tolling.
We'll be taking down these canopies. We'll be removing the booths where customers used to take tickets and pay their tolls.
KTA Engineering Program Manager Glenn Scott says once the plazas are gone, tolling areas will be more of a normal highway connection.
By the time we're done here, it may still look similar, but the booths and the canopy is going to be gone.
When construction begins later in August, there could be some traffic delays.
There could be lane reductions. There will be orange cones channelizing people into the proper lanes as we construct and demolish part of the toll plaza.
So what should we expect once the plazas are gone? Well, nothing's really changing. The KTA is just continuing to remind people, keep moving.
Our slogan is keep moving. Well, that's what people will be doing now. With the booths and the canopies completely gone, everyone's just going to enter and exit smoothly as they would on any other normal highway connection.
And with the toll booths gone, the KTA hopes it will be more apparent that you don't have to stop.
There's a learning curve with everything when something's new and something's different and something's changed. So changing to cashless and having everybody flow through the zones, that's been a change. And now we're coming around with our demolition contracts and we're going to introduce construction into these areas, and that's going to be a change.
The first time the gates, as Glenn describes them, are being taken down from the turnpike.
Now we're just going to be smooth and seamless and like any other highway, getting on and off.
In Wichita, Brock Wilson, 12 News.
It'll take the KTA about a year and a half to get rid of every toll plaza.